Hello class, this is Demetrius Wilson, Principles of Management, Chapter 11, Communication in Organizations. We are almost there. Our learning objectives as always, define communication and understand the communication process, understand and overcome barriers to effective communication, what stops us from communicating in the most effective way, compare and contrast different styles and types of communication, compare and contrast different communication channels, and developing your own communication skills. Communication in the POLC framework, as you can see, we were on leadership decision making. Now we're on communications, and then next we'll be on groups and teams. So communication is the process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. Right? So remember, communication is only if the message gets to the intended party in the way that is intended to go. If you have a miscommunication, you're still speaking. It doesn't mean that's not communication, it's just miscommunication. You missed it. 50 to 90% of a manager's time is spent communicating. Success on complicated missions at NASA depends on strong communications, right? Can't have any blurred lines, you have to communicate clearly. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. That's by George Bernard Shaw, who's an Irish writer, and sums it up perfectly. It's the illusion that it has taken place, but it really hasn't. It went over the person's head or around their head, whatever. It didn't go into their head, so they all understand and don't take in what you're saying. Three main functions of communication: transmission of information, here you go, I'm giving you this information, coordination of effort, and sharing emotions and feelings. As we know, if it's face-to-face, we could share good emotions and feelings. If it's an email, instant message, text message, not as much. The process model of communication. So I want you to kind of take some time to look at this for about 3 to 5 minutes and follow the path. We're just going to talk about it in the next few slides, but it's talking about me, sending a message, encoding it, and then you decoding the message. So understanding it from your point of view, because you may not understand it in the manner in which I'm sending it to you. Different mediums that you have, phone, email, in-person, instant message. So I want you to start thinking about, as far as emotion goes, which one of those is emotion mostly tied to? Can you see my emotion if we're face to face? Probably so. Can you see it if we're on the phone? Maybe you can hear it. In an email, maybe not as much, unless I write all caps, right? So, the process model of communication: the sender originates and encodes the message, right? I encode it and translates the idea into words. I have an idea in my head, put it into words, and I send it to you. The medium of this encoded message may be spoken words, written words, or signs. The receiver, which would be you, is a person who receives the message. You decode the message, and you assign meanings to the words, right? So I encode it, send it to you, you decode it, and then you assign meanings in what you think my message said. Noise is anything that interferes with or distorts the message being transformed. So it's not noise like you hear noise of people working on the street outside, but that could be noise too. But it distorts the message, right? It's other people talking, it's you looking at the TV, listening to radio, looking at your phone. That's going to distort the message. Due to noise, the meaning which the receiver assigns may not be the meaning which the sender intended. You may miss the point, you may miss the message, and it could just be noise within my with my email. Maybe I sent you an email, but I've got a lot of emojis on there, and it's confusing. There's a lot of noise, and you're missing the message. You never know where that noise may come from. So discussion question as always: where have you seen the communication process break down? At work, at school, at home? I want you to think about some different instances. You probably can think about instances for each for just today, because communication breakdowns happen every single day. These are the barriers to effective communication. Won't go over what each one means. If you need to know, definitely look those up, because there are some information, some very good information there. I do have a video on, I think, information overload that's pretty funny. I think you guys should check it out. Filtering, selective perception, information overload, emotional disconnects, all block effective communication. Lack of source familiarity or credibility, workplace gossip or grapevine, It's also a video on the Grapevine, old school black and white, but it's very, very good video. Helps you to understand how silly workplace gossip and Grapevine is. Semantics and jargon. We have our own type of jargon. A lot of people use certain terms that people just don't know what they are. Somebody's like, oh, the SME, and somebody's like, what's a SME? It's a subject matter expert, but certain things are abbreviated. Certain companies have their own jargon. Just have to watch out for that. Gender differences in communication, differences in meaning, and biased language. All right, so let's increase this so you can see this. More about barriers to effective communication. These are actually pretty funny. Um, Books and movie titles are often changed in different markets to appeal to different cultural sensibilities. For example, British author J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was changed to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. In the United States, because the belief that American children would find a philosopher to be boring. Not in England, but I'm going to agree with that in the United States that the children would find that boring. So they test the market and they say, you know what, we're going to change it here. Moms in the States can be seen walking with strollers in their neighborhoods, while mums in Ireland and the United Kingdom keep their children moving in a buggy, right? Not a car buggy, but that's a buggy. In India, you are more likely to hear no problem than no, as Indian nationals avoid the disappointment associated with using the word no. The area called the trunk in America is known as a boot in England. Wondering what it means when a Britain friend asks what's under your bonnet, open the hood of your car to offer an answer, right? Not the bonnet off your head like the girl on Blue Bonnet Butter. While Americans look for a flashlight when power goes out, a torch is preferred for those outside of North America. It's like, do you have a torch? I was like, what would you do? I need a torch, but it's not what they're really looking for. They're looking for a flashlight. Urban legend says that the Chevy Nova did not do well in Spanish-speaking countries because the name translates as no-go. The truth is that the car sold well in both Mexico and Venezuela. That's back to that workplace gossip and that grapevine. May not always have the most accurate information, if you know what I mean. So avoid biased language. So this is always funny. This is what you want to avoid and consider using. Avoid black attorney and consider using attorney. Avoid businessman and consider using business person. Avoid chairman and consider using chair or chairperson. Avoid cleaning lady and consider using cleaner or maintenance worker. Avoid male nurse and consider using nurse. No, I'm just playing. Consider using nurse. So if you remember, from a very funny movie, they said, "Oh, you're a nurse, right?" So people had, kind of have a negative connotation with that. But there are plenty of males in the nursing industry. Very, very great profession. So instead of using a male nurse, just use a nurse because that's what the profession is. Avoid manpower, and you want to use staff or personnel. Right? Avoid using secretary and consider using assistant or associate. Right? So you want to avoid using these terms and you want to consider using these terms. And a lot of you guys probably may not use those terms, but some of us in time we're growing up, those were the normal terms to use, and you have to be cognizant of that, especially in this day and age. Communication realities. Managers can expect on average to do only 3 minutes of uninterrupted work on any one task before being interrupted by an incoming email, instant message, phone call, coworker, or other distraction. I will 1000% agree with that. But that's the nature of the business. That's just what you have to deal with. That's what you're getting paid for. Consequences of poor listening: lower employee productivity, missed sales, right? You're missing the point, missing the sales. People aren't going to, do business with you. Dissatisfied customers, lower morale within the company, increased turnover. You have more people going in and out of the door. The receiver's ability to listen effectively is equally vital to effective communication because it's a two-way street. You communicate, you talk, but communication, the other part is listening. Listening takes practice, skill, and concentration. Have some videos that are posted on that as well. If you have poor listening skills, check those out. They will help you out. So active listening. So not just listening, but you need to be You need to instill active listening. So you want to listen for message content, listen for actual feelings, respond to the feelings, note all cues, and paraphrase and restate. So this is what I believe that you're saying, and this is how I understand it. And then that allows you to clarify if there are any misunderstandings. So you need to actively listen. So it doesn't say it in this presentation, but there is this phenomenon. So if this was an on-campus class, and there's 50 of you out there in the classroom and I'm speaking, there's a phenomenon that says if I'm speaking, one person is speaking and everybody else is listening, maybe you're trying to instill active listening, but people have a tendency to let their minds wander off and start thinking about, oh, I have some laundry to do, oh, I have to pick up the kids and all kind of other things. It's normal. That's normal when one person is talking and a group of other people are listening. More great discussion questions. Most individuals are poor listeners. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Please support your position. So those are pretty good questions. It'll help you learn a lot about yourself, a lot about other individuals and their listening skills and communication skills altogether. Verbal communication and storytelling. Stories can help clarify key values and help demonstrate how things are done within an organization. Story frequency, strength, and tone are related to higher organizational commitment. I have people, friends of mine who do a lot of speeches out there for pay out there in the market, and one of the best things is storytelling. So if you have a compelling story in some of the videos that you watch that I've posted, if you have a compelling story that kind of relates to the topic, it will really help you get your point across. I find it very, very effective. Crucial conversations require more planning, reflection, and skill. For example, asking for a raise, pitching an innovative proposal, right? You want to plan that out. You want to use some tact, use some skill. Don't just run in there and say, hey, boss, I need some money, right? Stakes are high, opinions vary, and emotions run strong. So you have to keep your emotions intact. Come with a very skilled approach, a very well-rounded approach, and you may get exactly what you want. Written business communication. Written communication is often asynchronous and received by many individuals. Examples include memos, proposals, emails, letters, training manuals, and operating policies. These things that go out to everybody at once. National Commission on Writing. 67% of salaried employees in large American companies, and professional state employees have some writing responsibility. I have writing responsibility, writing performance evaluation and reviews right now. Half of responding companies reported that they take writing into consideration when hiring professional employees. Other writing responsibilities I have is saying an announcement saying that we're having a new team member, things for proposals, sending out to individuals for process enhancements, things of that nature. And 91% of governmental agencies report always taking writing into account when hiring. So a lot of times these companies will want a writing sample from you. So if you don't have this skill down pat, I suggest that you work on it. Nonverbal communication, 7% of receivers' comprehension of message is based on the sender's actual word. Yes, that's only 7. Only 7% is tied to what the words that are actually coming out of your mouth. 38% is based on paralanguage or the tone, pace, and volume of the speech. So just 7% for the words, 38% based on paralanguage or the tone, pace, or volume of the speech, and 55% is based on nonverbal cues such as body language, right? So if I'm frowning and I say I love you, I'm probably lying, right? Factors of nonverbal communication, body language, eye contact, facial expression, posture, touch, space, right? How much space is in between you guys when you're speaking, right? On the next slide, you'll see that we talk about that, that personal distance, right? And sometimes we've got close talkers, right? You're talking to me, but you're way too close, buddy. Interpersonal communication distances. So this circle right here, this is your intimate distance. So 0 to 18 inches, right? Only a few people, right? Don't want too many people in your little intimate circle right there. Personal, right? 1.5 to 5 feet. This is a personal area that's cool that includes the people in the intimate area as well. And then social is 5 to 7 feet, right? There's a difference between how close somebody is to you to how close they are to you when they're speaking. So nonverbal communication around the world, and these are very, very interesting. Love these. So If you want to signal check please to catch the attention of your garçon in France or Belgium, remember that snapping your fingers is vulgar there, right? That's not the thing that you want to do there. In many Asian and Arabian countries, showing the sole of your shoe is considered rude, right? So just think about that. You can't cross your legs. You need to keep your feet on the ground. Um, Proactive dress is embraced in many Americans by many Americans, but many people in Muslim countries consider a woman's clothing to be inappropriate if it reveals anything besides her face and her hands. So typically they wear a smock where those are the only things that you can see. If everything's okay when you're in Brazil, avoid making this